When I forgot who I was. My name is Diane Miller. I'm 64 years old, a retired elementary school teacher, and up until a few months ago, I felt invisible. Not to others necessarily, but to myself. It's strange how that happens. You go through life caring for everyone else, students, your spouse, your children, your aging parents. You give, and you don't realize that somewhere in the process, you stop looking at yourself as someone worth caring for too. That's what happened to me. I live alone in a small house on the edge of Bend, Oregon. It's quiet here, too quiet sometimes. The kind of quiet that lets your thoughts echo a little too loudly. My daughter, Emily, lives about 3 hours away in Portland. She calls when she can, visits once in a while, but her life is full, as it should be. My days are mostly the same. I wake up early, not because I have anywhere to be, but because I'm used to it after decades of early school mornings. I make coffee, toast a slice of bread, and sit by the window, watching the neighborhood stir to life. Then I tie my hair back into the same low bun I've worn for years. No fuss, no heat tools, no styling products. Just a quick pull, twist, and a rubber band. It's what I've told myself is simple and practical. But the truth is, I didn't want to see what my hair had become. I didn't want to see what I had become. It wasn't just the gray. It was the way it hung limp and lifeless, the way it clung to my scalp, thinner than I remembered, the way it whispered, "You're older now. You're done." That whisper got louder each day, and so I stopped trying, stopped styling, stopped looking in mirrors longer than necessary. I told myself I was too old to care, that no one noticed anyway. That beauty was for younger women, for women who still went to cocktail parties and date nights. Not for widowed retirees who spent Tuesday afternoons shelving books at the local library. But late at night, when I passed by the mirror and caught a glimpse of myself, tired eyes, unstyled hair, worn-out sweaters, a quiet ache settled in my chest. I missed the woman I used to be, the one who curled her hair before date night, the one who wore red lipstick just because, the one who stood a little taller, even if no one was watching. That woman hadn't died with John, but it felt like she'd gone somewhere I didn't know how to reach. My husband, John, had always made me feel seen. Even in our later years, when my body began to soften and lines formed around my mouth, he'd say things like, "You still take my breath away, you know that?" He meant it too. And when he passed, a sudden stroke at 62, it wasn't just my heart that broke. It was my identity, my confidence, my spark. The weeks turned to months, months into years, and somehow I'd shrunk into someone who avoided her reflection. Someone who felt like her best days were behind her. One particular Thursday morning, I was out in the front yard trimming the rose bushes when my neighbor Maggie waved at me from her porch. Maggie Reynolds is a force of nature. She's 67, a former jazz singer from New Orleans with a wardrobe full of bold prints and hair that's always in some fabulous new style. One month it's a short layered bob. The next it's a curly silver halo with bright purple streaks. She has this energy, a don't mess with me kind of confidence that both intimidates and inspires me. That day she walked over with 2 mugs of coffee. "You looked like you needed something warm," she said, handing me one. I smiled. "You read my mind." She plopped herself onto my porch steps like we were 16 again, not senior women with aching knees. We sat in silence for a bit, sipping and listening to the birds. Then she looked at me sideways and said, "Di, when's the last time you did something, just for the hell of it?" I blinked. "Like what?" She shrugged. "Got a new haircut, took a dance class, bought a dress that shows a little leg." I laughed. "Those days are long gone." Maggie gave me that look, the one where her eyebrows raised just enough to say that's nonsense. "You used to be a knockout, you know," she said, sipping her coffee. "Used to be," I repeated softly. "You still are," she said. "You've just forgotten." I didn't respond, not because I didn't appreciate the compliment, but because I didn't believe it. She nudged me with her elbow. "I ever tell you the story of my big chop?" I shook my head. After my second divorce, I marched into a salon, pointed at a picture of Halle Berry and said, "Make me look like that." The stylist nearly dropped her scissors, but she did it, and I've never felt more alive. I grinned. You're braver than I am. She leaned in. You don't need bravery. You just need to remember who the hell you are. Later that night, I stood in front of the bathroom mirror, toothbrush in hand, staring at my reflection. Maggie's words buzzed in my ears. I tilted my head slightly, studying the lines in my face, the slope of my shoulders, the gray strands peeking out from the bun. I didn't look like the woman I used to be, but there was something familiar in my eyes, something curious. I set the toothbrush down and walked to my bedroom, pulled out the old photo album, page after page of memories, me in bell-bottoms and bangs, me holding Emily as a baby, me dancing barefoot on the back deck with John, my hair loose and wavy. I touched the photo softly like I could bring that version of me back with one brush of a fingertip. That night, for the first time in years, I opened my laptop and typed into the search bar, "Short haircuts for women over 60 that don't look old." The screen filled with images, chic gray bobs, bold pixie cuts, soft, layered styles with volume and life. One photo stopped me cold. A woman with silver hair and a modern pixie, smiling with her whole face, wearing hoop earrings and a denim jacket. She looked strong, confident, free. I clicked on the image. I stared at it for a long while. Could I pull that off? Was that still allowed for women like me? I didn't know, but something inside me whispered, try. I saved the photo, then shut the laptop. My heart was beating faster than usual, not from fear, but from the faint flicker of excitement, the kind you feel when you stand at the edge of something new, something unknown but full of promise. And in that quiet moment, I realized, maybe I'm not done after all. Maybe I'm just beginning again. The day I said yes to myself. It took me 3 days to open that photo again. I kept thinking about it, though. Every time I passed by a mirror, every time I tucked a stray gray strand behind my ear, that woman on the screen, smiling with silver hair cropped close to her face, she stayed in my mind like a soft echo. Each time I'd reach for my phone, stare at the little photo icon, then put it away. I wasn't ready. Or maybe I was scared. It's funny, isn't it? We spend decades learning how to take care of everyone else, but no one ever teaches us how to take care of ourselves when we're older, especially not when it comes to beauty. It feels indulgent, frivolous, even wrong. But that Wednesday morning, I woke up to the sound of rain against the window, and something felt different. The house felt quieter than usual. I felt still. Not in a sad way, just calm, like the noise in my head had taken a breath. I poured my coffee and sat at the table, still in my robe, and without thinking, I opened the photo. There she was, the silver-haired woman with the kind of smile that didn't apologize for taking up space. I stared at her face, at the confidence in her eyes, and I thought, what if I stopped hiding, just for one day? I picked up the phone and dialed the number of a local salon I'd heard Maggie rave about before. Luna and Company, Hair Studio. A young voice answered. Luna and Company, this is Jess. How can I help you today? I hesitated. Hi. I'd like to schedule a haircut. Sure. Are you a returning client? No, I said quickly. First time. It's been a while. No problem at all, she replied cheerfully. We have a spot open Friday at 10 a.m. Does that work? I felt my stomach twist. Friday. That was only 2 days away. Yes, I said. Friday at 10 is perfect. Great. And who can I book you with? We have Luna, the owner. She specializes in short modern cuts. Would you like to go with her? I swallowed hard. That was exactly what I needed, wasn't it? Yes, please, book me with Luna. Done. We'll see you Friday morning, Diane. When I hung up, my heart was pounding. What had I just done? I sat there at the kitchen table, both terrified and weirdly exhilarated, like I just leapt off a cliff without checking how far the fall was. Later that afternoon, I walked next door to Maggie's house. She was watering her potted herbs on the porch, wearing a bright yellow sweater and leopard print flats. Hey, stranger, she said. You look like you've seen a ghost. I made an appointment, I blurted out. She raised her eyebrows. Hair? I nodded. Friday, 10 o'clock. Maggie grinned so wide I thought her face might split. Now that's what I'm talking about. She set her watering can down and walked over, pulling me into a big, unapologetic hug. "You won't regret it," she said softly into my ear. "You're going to walk out of there feeling like yourself again." I hoped she was right, because all I felt was nervous. The next 2 days crawled by. I kept going back and forth. Maybe I should cancel. Maybe I was being ridiculous. What if it looked awful? What if it made me look older? Or worse, what if no one even noticed? But every time I thought about backing out, I remembered that woman in the picture. She didn't wait for permission, and neither should I. Friday morning came, and I stood in front of my closet, staring at my clothes like they were strangers. I pulled out a simple blouse, pale blue with a soft collar, and my favorite jeans. Not the stretchy kind I usually wore around the house, but real jeans, the kind I hadn't worn in months. I brushed my hair gently. It felt brittle, tired. I looked at myself in the mirror. "Today," I whispered, "we try something new." When I arrived at Luna and Company, the little bell above the door chimed. The space smelled like rosemary and lavender, and soft jazz played in the background. It wasn't like the fluorescent lit salons of the past. It felt warm, inviting. Jess greeted me with a smile. She had short green hair and glasses the size of half her face. "You must be Diane," she said, walking around the counter. "Luna's just finishing up. Can I get you a tea, coffee, something sparkling?" I blinked. "Sparkling?" She laughed. "We serve sparkling water in fancy glasses. It helps you feel like a queen." I smiled. "Well, unsure. I'll take some sparkle." A few minutes later, Luna appeared. She was tall, with silver and black hair in a tight twist, wearing a denim jumpsuit and sneakers. Her energy was electric but calming. "Diane," she said, offering her hand. "I'm Luna. I've been looking forward to meeting you." I stood up slowly. "Hi, I've, been a little nervous." Luna's smile was kind, steady. "Good. That means you're ready for change." She led me to her chair. I sat down and looked at myself in the mirror. There I was, shoulders hunched, hair pinned back, eyes wide. "Tell me," Luna said, "what are we doing today?" I hesitated, then reached into my bag and pulled out the photo. "This," I said, "I don't know if I can pull it off, but I want to try." She studied the photo for a long moment. Then she looked at me. "You absolutely can pull this off." I felt something loosen in my chest. Luna gently unclipped my bun and let my hair fall down. She ran her fingers through it thoughtfully. "Your hair has texture," she said. "It's finer now, but we can work with that. The silver coming in is beautiful. It'll look stunning short." I nodded, not trusting my voice. She draped the cape over my shoulders. "Ready?" she asked, scissors in hand. I took a breath and said, "Yes." The first cut was the loudest, not because of the sound, but because of what it meant. Years of routine, of hiding, of settling, gone with a snip. Hair fell to the floor in soft tufts, my lap filled with strands. Every time Luna turned my chair, I saw less of who I'd been and more of someone I hadn't seen in years. We talked as she cut, about books, about my daughter, about losing my husband. Luna shared that her mother had passed away last year and that she'd learned the value of presence, the kind that starts with caring for yourself. She always said, Luna told me, that the right haircut doesn't just change your look, it changes your posture. I didn't quite believe her. Not yet. But when she finished, when she turned the chair to face the mirror again, I gasped. The woman staring back at me looked alive. My hair was short, textured, full of light and softness around the face. The silver shone like silk. My cheekbones looked higher. My eyes looked brighter. I didn't look younger. I looked seen. Luna stepped back. "What do you think?" I blinked at my reflection. I forgot I could look like this." She smiled. "You didn't forget. You just needed permission to remember." I stood up slowly, and I swear to you, Maggie was right. I felt taller, like the version of me I'd buried under grief and habit had finally stood up straight. Back home, I walked up the porch steps and Maggie was already waiting. She took one look at me and burst into the biggest grin I've ever seen. "Damn, Diane," she said, "you're glowing." I laughed, and for the first time in a long time, It wasn't a small, polite laugh. It was real, loud, whole. I felt it in my bones. I feel like me again, I said. Maggie wrapped her arm around me. Welcome back, she whispered. That night, I didn't avoid the mirror. I stood in front of it for a long time, studying every line, every angle, every silver strand. I didn't wish to be younger. I didn't wish to be someone else. For the first time in years, I didn't wish for anything. I was enough, just as I was. And tomorrow? Tomorrow I'd wear lipstick again. Becoming the woman in the mirror. The next morning I woke up before the sun. I lay in bed for a moment, blinking at the ceiling, unsure of what stirred me. Then I remembered. The haircut, the mirror, the strange lightness I'd carried home with me the night before. And I smiled. It was real. It wasn't a dream. I hadn't chickened out. I threw off the blankets and walked into the bathroom. The reflection that met me didn't surprise me anymore, but it still moved me. I tilted my head, ran my fingers through the soft silver layers. The haircut wasn't just flattering, it was liberating. There was something about not hiding anymore, about showing the world what was underneath. And somehow it had shifted something inside me too. I grabbed the tube of lipstick from the drawer. It was dusty, unused. The color was a soft berry, nothing dramatic but enough to add warmth. I applied it carefully, then stepped back. There she was again, that woman I had missed. The next few days were like waking up after a long winter. I started wearing real clothes again. Not fancy things, just items I had once loved but had let sit untouched in the back of my closet. A cardigan in soft plum. A pair of ankle boots I used to wear to parent-teacher conferences. Even earrings, simple silver hoops that caught the light. Maggie stopped by nearly every afternoon, each time with a new compliment or playful joke. "You've got a strut now, you know that?" she said one day, watching me walk down the front steps. I laughed. "It's probably just my knees cracking." She shook her head. No, that's not knees. That's confidence." I didn't argue, because deep down, I knew she was right. What surprised me most wasn't how others reacted. It was how I started reacting to the world around me. I went to the library for my usual volunteer shift, and for the first time in ages, I stopped and talked with people. Asked about their day, made jokes, shared stories. People noticed. "Diane, you look different," said Sarah, the head librarian. "Did you do something with your hair?" "I did," I smiled. "Finally. Well, it suits you. You look younger, brighter." I didn't care about the younger part. What mattered was brighter. I felt that, and the light grew day by day. Then one Thursday afternoon, I got a phone call from Emily. "Hey, Mom," she said, her voice rushing like it always did when she called from work. "I have a long weekend coming up. Can I come visit?" I smiled so wide my cheeks hurt. "Of course, honey, I'd love that." When Friday arrived, I picked her up at the bus station downtown. She stepped off with her tote bag and tired eyes, and when she saw me, she froze. "Mom," she said, blinking. I waved. "Hi, sweetheart." She walked over slowly, still staring at me like she was trying to compute something. Then she laughed. "Oh my God, you cut your hair." "I did." "And you're wearing lipstick." I grinned. "You noticed." She reached out and hugged me tight. "You look amazing, Mom. Really." I felt tears prick behind my eyes, because this was the first time in years I felt like I wasn't being seen as just someone's aging parent, but as a whole person again. That evening, we sat on the porch wrapped in throw blankets with hot tea. Emily curled up beside me like she used to when she was little. "I'm sorry I haven't been around more," she said softly. I reached over and took her hand. "You've got your life. That's how it should be. I've just been figuring out how to start living mine again." She looked at me. "What changed?" I thought for a moment. "It started with a haircut," I said. "But it was more than that. I stopped hiding. From mirrors, from myself." Emily nodded. "I've missed you like this." "I've missed me too." The next day we went out for lunch together at the cafe on Main Street. We sat by the window laughing, reminiscing, sharing things we hadn't talked about in years. As we left, a woman about my age walked past us and did a double take. She smiled and said, "I love your hair." I blinked. Thank you. She hesitated, then added, I've been thinking about doing something bold too. Just haven't had the nerve. I smiled, this time without hesitation. I waited a long time, but it was worth every second. She nodded. Maybe it's time. Emily looked at me as we walked back to the car. Did that feel weird? No, I said. It felt right. Later that week, Maggie hosted one of her famous backyard wine nights. It was just a few neighbors, women in their 60s and 70s, all gathered around patio heaters with glasses of Pinot and laughter that echoed through the fence lines. When I walked in, they clapped. For the new Diane, Maggie declared. I rolled my eyes and laughed. You're all ridiculous. Maybe, Maggie said, but you're radiant, and we all need a little reminder now and then that we're allowed to shine. We talked for hours about life, about love, about the things we used to dream of, and the things we still could. One woman, Janice, shared that she'd stopped singing in church after her husband passed 5 years ago. I didn't feel like myself anymore, she said. I looked at her. Maybe you don't have to wait to feel like yourself before doing the things you used to love. Maybe doing them brings her back. She looked at me for a long second, then smiled. That night I went to bed with my heart full, not because of compliments, or lipstick, or new boots, but because I had remembered what it meant to live with intention, to say yes to myself, and not just in big ways, in tiny ones too. Wearing the earrings again, going for longer walks, putting on music while folding laundry, saying thank you when someone says I look nice instead of deflecting. And every morning, when I look in the mirror now, I greet her, the woman I used to be, the woman I've always been, and the woman I'm still becoming. Some days she's tired, some days she's quiet, but every day she's present, and every day she's enough. You see, I didn't just find a hairstyle that helped me love myself. I found a way back, a way through grief, through habit, through self-doubt. I found the courage to show up for the woman in the mirror, not to fix her, not to make her young again, but to say you are still here, and you are still beautiful. That is more than enough. And if you're reading this or hearing this and wondering if you're too old, too far gone, too invisible to begin again, you're not. Because sometimes all it takes is one small yes, one small change, and a mirror you dare to face with your eyes wide open.